Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, Wildbow's most ornithological work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Execution, Chapter 13.9, and Gathered Pages 13. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know exactly how horrifying Helen is, and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there will be full spoilers to the chapters we are covering.
But first, we have a fan art contest!
Woo!
Yay! All right, it's due February 3rd, so you guys have less than a month.
Correct.
So it's not a lot of time, so you guys better get on it.
This quarter's theme is transformation.
Transformation. Ooh.
So any Wildbow work has a lot to do with transformation, and so you can do some cool art.
You can do pretty much anything. Yeah, like this is a great theme. So
yeah,
go hard.
Let it inspire you.
That's right.
The entries, you can find all the rules and stuff on our website, doofmedia.com, and you send in your entries to fanart@doofmedia.com whenever you have that ready. So yay!
Just before we started recording, I should have waited till we were recording this. I showed Malia an instance of a transformative process.
Oh, yeah.
I decided on a whim to buy some, butterfly pea flower tea. And for everyone else who's like, why? And what is that? Basically, when you brew it, it turns into a very, very blue liquid. And if you mix it with something acidic, like whether lemonade or even like wine or I don't know, just anything that has acid, it turns purple and it's really pretty. So, that's a transformation.
Like
it's pretty trick. It's magic. It's like straight up magic. It's cool. All right. Chapter summary time.
Ooh.
The satyrs help Blake to track the spellbinder while also working to make him jealous. Blake and Green Eyes sneak in a romantic moment. They all catch up with Sandra and Maggie, but things are misleading. Blake achieves his 7th win. Then a Patrick, whatever, interlude. Woo! He disguises himself as Joanna Duchamp and watches chaos unfold. It's a very summarized thing, but this is what happens. What do you think of these chapters, Malia?
The Blake chapter was good, and Green Eyes and Blake are cute or something. And then Patrick's interlude was really interesting. Padraic person. He is annoying as fuck, and the way he writes and stuff, he's all like, I'm so smart. But it's a fun perspective, and you're going through and you're like, oh crap, oh the sneakies, oh wow, okay. And then you get to the last part, and I just wasn't like, the first time I read it, I was like, did we go back in time? Like, what's going on? Like, is this explaining how he got her hair? Like, what? And then I realized that we hadn't gone back in time, and it was very upsetting.
Yeah.
I think that, like, there's lots of stories about fairy, and I know that they're scary, but, like, I'm really, really, really starting to get it. And I think that, like, there's a difference between someone telling you, like, this little story and then, like, showing it to you. Because this is not the worst thing that, like, a fairy has threatened to do to someone or anything, right? But just, like, we've seen this little girl since Arc 2 throughout this story, and it was never her. And that's fucking horrifying. And I get, like, she's not, like, actively being tortured, like, whatever. Like, there are a lot worse things that could be happening. But the fact that, like, we've never met Joanna Duchamp and no one has any idea, and, like, we see it and we feel it and we live it, it's so awful. And that's where we're at.
It's pretty fucking terrible. Yeah.
It's so scary. Because at the end I was like, okay, yeah, birthday party, okay, yeah. Why are we reading this? And I had to really think, I'm like, why would Wildbow put this at the end of an arc? Like, what about this is shocking? Oh, it's not time travel. We're not reading a random other part of his diary.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone else is like dumb, Malia, but
No.
I feel
No.
like there are a lot of really cool things about reading the story this way, and I think I've caught a lot of things I wouldn't have, and I've really like dug into some characters and questioned decisions and really kind of like wrestled with stuff. And I really am not sure if I was reading this, in a weekend, if I would have caught this or if I would have just been like, whatever, moving on. Because like the first time I read through these chapters, I don't catch a lot of stuff because I'm just like, what happens? And then it's like on the read through that I catch it. But if I hadn't had to stop here, like, would I have even been like, wait, what the fuck? Or would I have just been like, whatever?
Yeah.
Do you remember if this is something that people don't always catch? Or do you remember your reaction?
I'm not sure about other people. I didn't catch it the first time. That's for sure.
Because like part of the way that Padraic titles things, Padraic and I'm trying to. I mean, Grandma Rose's diary skipped through time, although that was only forward, I think. But for some reason, I think I was kind of like, this went backward, and then I was like, no, it didn't. And I just have no idea if this will be resolved, like at all. I don't know if I should say that for a bold and specific prediction, but I have like absolutely no idea if anyone will ever learn the Jordan shop.
Yeah. Anyway. We'll get to that more. So the satyrs help Blake to track the spellbinder while also working to make him jealous just for funsies.
Blake starts off by talking about how the satyrs look too smug, like they're like pulling something over on him or whatever phrase that is. Anyway. And I was thinking that this is because like he didn't actually kill Mason or whatever, the benevolent and stuff, but I feel like he has. I'm pretty sure that actually happened and he actually just killed him. But I was thinking they had like managed to trap him in some sort of like alternate reality where I guess I've been listening to this Star Trek podcast called The Greatest Generation. I've been like binging it and it's wonderful, but there's these things on Star Trek called holodecks, and they're like magical virtual reality boxes where they can like in Star Trek replicators exist and they can recreate like anything that they know the whatever formula whatever for, which is basically everything. And they have like holograms and shit, so they are able to create like vast universes within a confined space, because like you think you're walking but it's just like replicating shit around you or something. I don't know, it's fine. It doesn't matter. So there's times where on the show people think that something is happening but they've actually been like kidnapped and put in a replicator situation or whatever, and I was like, has Blake been put into the holodeck by the satyrs? And I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. This is gonna be a loose episode because we're both kind of tired, and so I
We're
just
both
want
tired.
to acknowledge that now.
You know what? It's cool, guys. I got some sort of yeah.
It's this kind of episode. We believe in our listeners that they can understand,
Decipher.
Yeah.
What the fuck we're trying to say.
Yeah.
You know what? And if you can't, then lo siento.
Indeed.
You know, speaking of like fake worlds or holodecks or whatever, I had a really weird dream the other night. I only remember a little bit of it. It was really funny. I don't remember if I told you this, but I dreamt that I was supposed to go to dinner with you and Mom. It was like a really fancy restaurant, and I was running a little late, so I got there the last. And you two were both sitting at the table, and I don't really remember how you were, but Mom was like super ticked, but not at me. She was just like really irritated, and I like sat down. She was like, oh my gosh, Jenny, this lady, like 2 tables down, I guess she didn't like her food and she's been booing the risotto. and, and how the waiters and waitresses, I guess, have just been going around just ignoring it because they're like, we don't want to deal with this. And the lady was just like, boo.
Oh my god.
And then I woke up. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really bizarre.
I was gonna say, it doesn't really sound like mom to be mad at you for being late, so
Yeah,
that made a lot more
no,
sense.
it was not. I didn't even get a vibe that she was mad at me when I got there.
That's so
'Cause
funny.
I just got a vibe she was mad. She kept like giving side glances to like table a couple, and I think I remember like I was like, well, let's like tell one of the waiters, and so I like flagged one of them down. Was like, yeah, I guess that lady's been like booing at the risotto, and then someone like from another table piped in. And they're like, yeah, that lady. And then you could tell all the like waiters and waitresses were really reluctant to like do anything. They just kind of wanted to like keep walking around and ignoring it.
That's a mood, yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I don't get paid enough for this crap.
I love that.
And I woke up before any resolution. So
that's funny. I keep dreaming I have a baby, like a newborn, but they're never like a newborn size. They're always at least like 6 to 9. Like they can't walk, but they can like hold up their head and stuff.
It's like a big baby.
Yeah, like 4 to 6 months or something.
Okay.
But like in the dream, they're new, and I don't remember exactly why, but a couple nights ago, I had a dream where I had this like new cute baby or whatever, and then like later on, I had another dream where I remembered that dream where I had a baby was in fact a dream, and I remember like yelling at Ben about how stressed I was because I kept dreaming that we had babies. And I really love when I can like I remember dreams and that they were dreams in my dreams and don't recognize that I'm dreaming. I'm really into that when I wake up.
Have you ever woken up like being angry at Ben for something that happened in a dream?
Probably. I can't think of any specific times. I remember telling one of my friends in high school once that something had happened in a dream and that I was like super pissed at her and I woke up angry. And by that point I like wasn't angry, but I told her about it and she was like kind of weirded out by it. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's only happened to me once with Vitalis. I don't remember what it was, but it's like as soon as I woke up, like I was like, oh, I was asleep and my anger just like faded away. It was like something really stupid, but yeah. And then I told him about it and he laughed. That was funny. All right. No, that was a little tangent there. First of many. Was it the first? I don't know. It was one of many.
Yeah.
It's fine, guys. We're going to get through it. All right.
Time is a wheel.
So
Evan he's getting a little like moody. He's getting a little cranky. There's the word. And well, it starts off by Green Eyes asking where Evan is, but of course she doesn't say where's Evan. She says where's Chicken Nugget, which is actually a really cute nickname. Even if it does spawn from like her wanting to eat him or something. But she gets so upset because she thinks that Blake ate Evan, and this is so fucking funny. Like I think she's just like, you've been telling me this whole time to not eat Evan, and it's just because you wanted to eat Evan, and like how dare you. And I like part of I do think that maybe she likes Evan, but a big part of it is like I should have eaten Evan.
The injustice.
Like, yeah. And that's really funny. And I am worried about Evan's health, and I'm hoping he gets better. But at least he is like, alive and talking and able to move and stuff. So
very true.
That's a thing.
It's a thing. I have to say, I mean, it's kind of understandable that Evan's kind of in a pissed off mood because he got like super injured.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So yeah, just saying. Like,
I don't think it is unreasonable, but he is very cranky.
He is cranky.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's showing the impact this night is having on these characters. they're, you know, being worn down, and even Chipper Evan is like getting snippy with people.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is fair.
It's fair, man. It's so fair.
But
I'm so sorry. Okay. We're gonna make it.
but they're trying to find the spellbinder or whatever he's called, and they talk about how they might do this, and the satyrs are like, who? Oh, that guy that smells like these 7 things and also shea butter? And Evan is like, what the fuck is shea butter? And I thought it was funny that Green Eyes also doesn't know what shea butter is. Like I feel like Green Eyes needs to
Use some shea butter?
like, yeah, invest in some skincare routines. Like
Yeah, she probably hasn't been able to go to the store to buy fucking shea butter
well,
in a long time.
sure, but like, did she know what shea butter was ever? Has she forgotten? Like, I don't regularly use shea butter, but I'm aware of it, and I use moisturizer. You know, like there's some stuff that exists.
Mhm.
I've like Googled and tried to learn a bunch of things about skincare. I think I've talked about this on the podcast and how skincare is apparently a thing, and
It's a thing.
the internet
It's
tells
true.
you about it when you're gonna get married. Um
That's like the
Literally.
rule of skincare. Every man or woman's life, they go through just, doing fuck all to their skin until they find the person that they love and they want to spend the rest of their life with, and they get engaged. And during the planning process, they find about fucking shea butter.
So what you're saying is it's only a matter of weeks before Green Eyes would have naturally learned
That's
about
right.
shea butter.
That's right. It's the time old tradition of finally getting a skincare routine when you're about to get hitched.
No, but
You know?
like they're all like, "This is the skincare routine," blah, and I was like, because like our mom taught us some stuff about girly things, and skincare should not be a girly thing. Skincare should be an everyone thing.
Mhm.
But there's like some stuff she didn't really get into that much, and like I have really oily skin, so the big thing was like wash your face. Here's like soap
Which
for
is
your
important, to be fair,
face. Right. But then like nothing else. And
Okay, to be fair, I remember her buying like a bunch of like skincare products for the both of us. So you can't say she never did anything but soap. That is not true.
that's true. I sort of remember something about toner, but I didn't use it right. Um,
So maybe that's on us.
it might be on us.
You know what?
But I also like didn't really need it that much. When I moved to Syracuse for a year and lived through actual winter, my like T zone or whatever, like the space between my eyebrows started getting like flaky and like weird, and that's when I learned you have to put moisturizer on your face, especially in winter, because otherwise your
Yeah.
skin flakes off. Because it didn't happen before.
Yeah, that's a rough lesson.
Yeah, I recently started trying to figure out like what is a clay mask and should I do it? And I did one on Sunday. This is really exciting material for
This is
everyone.
so exciting.
But it was really nice. My face felt really nice for like 2 days. So, but you can't do it too much, people. Here's the thing. You can't exfoliate too much. Well, you
You can,
You can exfoliate too much and it's bad. So don't exfoliate too much.
but moisturize the crud out of your face.
Yeah, you want to wash your face to get all the shit off, and then you're like, "Fuck, I got all the shit off, and I
You gotta
need some
put
of
your
that
own shit back on.
You gotta put
Yeah.
shit back on."
You gotta buy the shit to put it back on.
And
Wash your own shit off that has dirt in it, and then you buy the shea butter and like the other shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard because I have sensitive skin and oily skin, and normally they're like, "Oh, you have sensitive skin, that means you have dry skin," and I'm like, "No, listen,
No, listen.
my
Like
face doesn't like pillows or fragrances or trees." So
which makes skincare kind of hard because I feel like it loves fucking fragrances and trees and
it makes it
soft
really hard.
stuff. Yeah.
No.
Like eucalyptus. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's rough.
So far, it's been fine. I just always am like sensitive skin when I'm looking for products.
Yeah.
Anyway, Green Eyes again. Yeah. So, did Green Eyes ever know about shea butter, and is this something she forgot or not? And I feel like
that's obviously the main burning question. that we all have, Malia.
Well, as someone
So
who spends a lot of her time in water, I feel like her skin's gonna get really like dried out
I mean, she's
from
a fucking mermaid, so
right. So I think she
yeah,
should like it would behoove her to invest and learn about some skincare. And
that's
I hope
true.
that the story has
Any
room for
fish
that.
that gets dried out, we have to slather in lotion
She's half
immediately.
fish, so the
That's
fish
true.
part maybe is fine. But you know,
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Just get a tub of shea butter. She can just swim in the shea butter.
ew.
It's okay until it's too much shea butter, and then there's there's an arbitrary amount of shea butter that's appropriate. And then when you go over that line, then it's too much.
Yeah,
And
Ben was.
you only find that out when you're planning your wedding. That's the point.
It is when the internet decides you should know. Ben was telling me about something about people putting like Vaseline and saran wrap all over their bodies or something, and I was not about to go there because again, oily skin. But some people might not have too much. There might not be a limit for some people on shea butter.
Yeah. Some people just like get a bathtub and just fill it up, you know? That's a lot of money.
The limit is their wallet.
The limit is the wallet.
The bank account.
That's
yep.
right. And how much your store carries.
Yep.
Or Amazon will ship to your house. It's like, okay, why are we sending like gallon buckets to this guy? Like,
right, they must be some sort of
every week.
wholesaler. Like,
yeah, or some weird like cult that like I don't know uses a lot of shea butter.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd be like, why would a cult need shea butter? I don't know. Just because that's a weird amount of shea butter. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like Gary would say.
Gary does love. Yeah. Gary knows about the cults.
Gary, fuck. Gary's been through some shit. You know, but his skin looks amazing. Dude, that's the thing. Like, and it's like those polygamy cults. Like, they do some creepy stuff. I mean, they're fucked up in a lot of ways, but like their skincare,
it's pretty great. It's like Sam Alito. I listen to this podcast called Strict Scrutiny, which is these 3 con law professors who talk about the Supreme Court, and they talk a lot about how Justice Alito's skincare routine is really great because he like looks a lot younger than he is, and he's vibrant.
He's vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good word.
Yes. But yeah, so one of the satyrs thinks it's funny to like hit on Green Eyes, and I haven't decided if Green Eyes is like intentionally flirting to make Blake jealous, which Blake seems to have like very upset possible feelings about later, or if she's sort of just like, oh yeah, you smell good. Like, you know, I can't tell how much of it is intentional. Because she does like very much put him in his place later, which is very fun.
Yeah. But she notices though.
She
notices more than Blake notices. He's jealous because I think he just feels that anger first off, and
yeah,
you know,
Blake. Yeah, I mean, we'll get there, but also we can talk about it now because I'll probably forget. But Blake doesn't have a ton. For as much as he thinks about Green Eyes and how weird it is that she talks about romantic relationships, I feel like he doesn't reflect like he's just like, oh, it's weird that I'm not super freaked out by this physical contact. Not like, this is really nice and I like her and she's pretty and sweet. Like he identifies like, oh, she's my friend, I should keep her close, but never has like these sort of like warm reflections on it. Like he like puts his hand on her back or whatever and like kind of pulls her closer, but there's no thoughts surrounding that in terms of like why he did that. Like it's like his actions show us hopefully that he likes her or something, or is like somewhat reciprocating something. Something is happening, but I feel like all of his thoughts are just like, why the fuck did she keep talking about this? It's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, he's just not like romantically inclined.
At least like anymore.
Speaking of fucking skincare, you know, he's a fucking tree. You know?
He could use something probably.
Malia,
little bits of flesh.
My brain, this is not good. How far? We're like barely started. And I'm just like
skincare
for plants. Woo. What the fuck?
You know, I bet there's people out there that would buy skincare for their plants. Like
Oh
plant
my
moms.
gosh. Oh, like a plant mask.
Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I just imagine people rubbing lotion on aloe vera.
No. Blake is going to use a mud mask because, again, he's a plant. Green Eyes is going to use like a seaweed
wrap.
Yeah. What would Evan use? I mean, he's too young to give a fuck about that.
Bird bath.
Perfect.
Bird. What do birds
Eat
need?
seeds.
They bathe in water, usually,
Air.
right?
Yeah, they do that.
Do they eat
Fancy
bugs
bird
off
bath.
each other?
That's monkeys, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they probably eat
might.
mites. Oh my lord. I'm so sorry, everybody. Fuck. This is gonna be painful. It's either gonna be really great or really painful to listen to. I don't really know which one. Maybe both.
But yeah, we have a big long thing about plan A and plan B and plan C and plan B and plan C and plan B, and it's complicated. And basically we end on, let's not do anything. Let's just sit here. And
let's just fucking sit here, and it works
really well. Blake's karma seems to be good. Like I guess wild. He's like, I'm fulfilling the role, but like I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, anything's gonna seem good compared to what he had. It might just be like straight up neutral, you know. And it's gonna be like, man, it's amazing.
It's like, oh, I don't have any idea where they went. Or it's not that he doesn't know where they went. He doesn't know where the guy is. And so I guess he's like, they'll lead us to the guy or something. Because 7 is a better number than 6 and stuff. I thought it was interesting, the thing about driving and how like everybody out on the streets tonight is either a practitioner or an other, and others can't drive. And like, you know, no practicing while driving. Oh, I was trying to come up with some good like no texting while driving joke, and I couldn't. So all of you can pretend that I did.
There you go. Really that's the discussion question.
It was really clever.
It was really clever.
Like click it or ticket.
Click it or fuck my
practice
face.
And
practice and die. That's your clever catchphrase. Practice and die.
Oh, I think a fun discussion question would be, yeah, like what are some like good PSA campaigns for and slogans for the practice?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one.
Okay,
because then we could get like, let's get some fan art. I want to see some like I want to see some cool signs or some cool like propaganda posters.
Ooh, that'd be so fun.
That'd be fun. All right. No driving. Cinnamony. And chicken nugget, man.
Yeah, I do feel bad that Evan is... I mean, I feel like if like one of my new friends was talking about how they wanted to murder me, like I'd be sad. So that's fair. I'm worried about Evan and Blake in terms of like, there was the whole Tinkerbell thing, but then they kind of talked about it and it seemed like it got better. But Evan feels like he's just being like shoved aside because like, you know, he's a kid and he feels that way where people are trying to like talk around him and like, you know, whatever. And so the fact that he's like, I don't like, you know, you're trying to shut me up and stow me away. Like, I don't like, I think Blake wants you to rest because you need to rest because you need to heal. And you are being kind of cranky and annoying right now, and they are trying to have a romantic moment, and that's nice where Green Eyes is like, hey, Evan, let's not. But I don't want him to feel like no one wants him around or whatever, and I also really don't want it to be true. So
yeah.
It makes me a little nervous, but we'll see.
We will see. We already talked about this a little bit, but we'll get into the romance of Blake and Green Eyes.
It's funny, he's like, hey, we're actually like kind of a good match because she probably can't eat me and she won't be used to manipulate him. I guess like there's no connection to his past or something. Falling apart. Okay.
It's all right. I'm falling asleep. She's falling apart.
But yeah, it's a nice sort of little moment that they have. And she's cool enough to be like, to acknowledge like, hey, I like Blake, which is very obvious by this point, but still.
Yeah.
And Evan is like, oh fuck, I'm sorry. And it's like, oh, Evan, you're so great. And he's great. Also, I'm sad Evan never had sushi.
That's true. But
Green Eyes would probably be bad sushi. So
I
guess
mean, I
Evan wouldn't
guess
be a great chicken nugget.
that's a weird circle of life, you know? Like Green Eyes wants to eat the chicken nugget wants to eat the sushi, you know? It's just a weird cycle.
Circle of life. Do chicken eat fish?
Chicken?
Yeah.
I mean, like I know birds can eat like small fish. So I bet
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a
Bigger
chicken has
birds
a
can eat
chance
bigger
to
fish.
Yeah, I don't think chickens go like
Near fish.
near fish a lot.
Yeah.
So or can catch minnows, but
And he's not really a chicken. He's more like a chickadee, which feels even
yeah, he's
harder.
definitely not a chicken. Chickadee nugget.
I don't remember. I think we've talked about this already on the podcast, but chickadees are so cute and so great. And they're called chickadee because that's like the sound they make, right? They go like chickadee dee dee dee. And the more D's is like the more upset they are. So if they're just like chickadee dee dee, they're just like, hey, we're chilling with my pals. And then chickadee dee 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 is like, there's a cat. Like and it's really cute. And I love them. Chickadee dee dee.
Yes.
But yeah, they managed to find the people. / the people come out and lead them to the trap.
Lead them to the trap. Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. They catch up with Sandra and what I guess it is Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's like Mags, but it's not Mags. It's fucked face. They're misled almost. And then Blake wisens up because Green Eyes like almost fucking bites Maggie.
Mm-hmm. So this part, the first time I read it, I was reading it really quickly because I like wanted to know what was happening and resolve it kind of.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just remember being confused because like there's the Maggie in the circle and there's the Maggie outside of the circle, and like there's so many clues throughout this that it's Paggy and not Mags. And I can't really remember what I think I was surprised when Blake put the hyena to Maggie's throat. So I think I was taken off guard by this. But yeah, this was another example of like I didn't go through and read it carefully. Although I also thought that Padraic wouldn't really come back to Jacob's Bell, that he was free and so he'd run away. And I didn't realize like quite how many ties or interests he had. On the other hand, this is like popping off as a location, so it makes sense why he's back.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says like, "Hi Maggie again," which means like I changed back into Maggie. And yeah, Maggie's not the ambassador. Mags is the ambassador, and he doesn't answer some stuff like, "Will I be the second Thorburn you killed?" Because like, I mean, maybe it'll be the 40th Thorburn Podrick's killed for all we fucking know. But like, yeah, Blake thinks about how Molly's not here, and I'm like, does Molly know that Mags isn't here? That seems like a big hint. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, Podrick just sort of avoids a lot of questions. And the thing that really kind of the one thing that really stuck out when I was reading it the first time was Maggie saying that she wasn't going to get her family back, because I was like, why not? If like Maggie Holt is tied to her dad's, like she should totally get them back. But I was kind of like, well, practice, I don't know. But that's probably the biggest clue that this is not Mags. I think I was thinking more like, is Mags in or out of the circle, not like, is Mags even here?
Yeah. It's sneaky.
It's very sneaky. And it's interesting that, Sandra's in on this whole thing because, that's not really the Spellbinder. And yeah, it's just the three fairy, I guess. And that's fun and upsetting. Excuse me. But yeah, in Green Eyes we trust, and more importantly, in Green Eyes Blake trusts, because she's like, fuck this person, and Blake's like, okay, that settles it. Fuck this person.
Fuck this person.
And I love that. And so Peggy promises to leave until this is all over, and I guess doesn't specify the exact area or something, and does the weird constantly moving away thing that we see next chapter, and yay, crisis averted or something.
Or something. Ah. All right. Blake wins again for the 7th time.
And this is just so I was happy, but I'm also sad because I really liked Sandra, you know? And I do think that she deserves to I guess Jeremy's right. The Duchamp family deserves to be brought down because this is a really shitty thing and a really shitty way that they work. But also I love Sandra, whatever, and I'm sad. But Blake destroys Sandra after he's sown a bunch of division in the ranks by being your wives and daughters are asking me to kill you, which fucks all the men up, and then, goes to Sandra and says, hey, are you, tell me you're not going to let this continue. Tell me you're, or at least tell me whether you're going to keep these arranged marriages going after you become the Lord or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give up. But she can't, because if she says, yeah, I am going to keep them going, then, a whole bunch of Duchamp women who she sort of promised that she wouldn't do it to are going to be pissed. But if she doesn't, then, presumably these individual men aren't entirely fucked, but, they're only here because of this. They're here because of these fucked up arranged marriages. And so that's a huge problem for the Duchamp power base.
Yeah.
And for the men feeling like they have reason to be there or whatever, right? And have some security within this family.
True.
But then Sandra personally loses a lot of power if she says, yeah, we're gonna keep doing this, because of it seems like all of the Duchamp women fucking hate this, but they also
They go
convince
along.
themselves, that it's worth it for now and that in the future we'll stop. But
they just don't.
Sandra, right, basically being unable to say, yeah, once we've achieved this pinnacle of lordship, we'll be able to stop doing this, which is what Penny thought would happen, is too much.
Yeah. Yeah, that honestly, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah. And this is brilliant on Blake's part, and it sucks.
Sucks.
Yeah, because you want Sandra to say, okay, fine, we'll stop, but then the Duchamp family just has nothing in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Yeah, it blows, man.
Fuck practitioners.
All right, next we get to the Padraic interlude, and he disguises himself as Joanna Duchamp and watches chaos unfold, and then we find out some bad shit at the end, which we talked about a bit. Just really depressing.
It's terrifying.
I guess at least maybe she's happy.
Right. I do think it could be worse, but it's
still pretty bad.
Fucking horrifying. I think it's interesting that Padraic calls this a cold evening of red bells. Because I picture, when I think of Molly's bell ringing, I picture a silver bell, a big grayish whatever. And I also only picture one. And so I wonder if this is some sort of clue. Red blood, it is ringing a lot, but is this some sort of clue to the greater, broader power that is fucking with everything that he keeps talking about, which infuriates me because I can't get it. Yeah, so he has this whole thing where he's like, I portion out truths and stick them together, and I'm a fairy, blah, 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 blah. I'm super clever. And I'm like, on the one hand, yeah. On the other hand, I don't like you. Just tell me what the fuck is going on.
I don't like you. Yeah.
Yeah, he is more open than he could have been, which is nice. He does kind of, lay out, okay, I might want to sell this information to the courts later, and these are some of the problems with what Sandra, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's still a lot of things that he just sort of hints at in an infuriating way.
Yeah.
And this is something that makes me like, I don't think I'm necessarily like the most insightful person when it comes to literary analysis or whatever,
You're
but
pretty
I think
good.
it'd be really cool to have podcasts that are like spoilerific for Wild Bow Works. Because I think like being able to talk about this chapter and being able to talk about Toronto, like being able to talk about a lot of things with the context of the entire story would be like really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, and it seems like so far those don't exist. So those would be cool because I'm sure like even just reading through the last chapter twice where there's all that stuff where it's just like it's Padraic, it's Padraic, it's Padraic that
Mhm.
becomes super obvious the second time you read it, like all this stuff about the the other thing out there that is manipulating things, I'm sure will be a lot more obvious on a reread. Whereas now I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know, Barbatorum, like that's my best guess. Fuck.
Yeah, it's well, there you go, Malia. There's a future goal for another podcast.
Woo!
Woo!
Packed again. um anyway, I like that Podrick calls Blake the blighted rose. Um feels like a clue, and yet I don't know. um but yeah, so we learn that the fairy courts will be really mad if they learn what Podrick's been up to, but um Sandra, when she tries to like lord this over him and be like, fucking cooperate or I'll tell, he's like, there's 3 problems with your whole threat, and we only learned 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is upsetting. I told Jenny before we started the podcast so I needed to check something because I remembered this and I was like, wait, fuck. And I like read through again and like control F for third and all that crap and like I couldn't find it. And maybe it's, you know, also I have Johanna Duchamp, ha 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 ha, but like, I don't know. um, but yeah, so he wants the court to come looking because he thinks that'll be fun. Because he's fairy, and um, we'll get to the second one later because I'm forgetting it, but it's down there in my notes. Okay, so he gets some of Joanna's hair and turns into her, and I was like, oh, that like I wonder how he got that, but also she's pretty young, and that's probably something that wasn't that hard. And like, yeah, she's like definitely totally in bed and whatever, or like at home, so there's not a lot of chance of like her showing up and fucking this up, but also I kept kind of waiting and wondering about that.
Yeah.
And especially, yeah, I just kind of being like, oh god, like, is she here?
Ah.
Um, but yeah, so he decides as he's fulfilling his promise to leave, he will leave in the slowest, most circuitous way possible so he can see the drama play out. So he gets Keller and Ev to turn into a Behem and a Duchamp. And the end of the chapter makes you think, are these also like kidnapped, imprisoned kids? I kind of don't think so, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he talks about kind of like getting into the character, and it reminds me of, Blake in arc 3, I think, in Laird's house when he turns into that little Behem kid. Podrick can, I think, control himself a bit better, but he does adopt a lot of mannerisms and ways of thinking, and it helps him get into this character. He has some thin metal flute that he uses to summon Latita, who, obviously this whole time has known what the fuck is up. I'm wondering how that worked in terms of Joe awakening and bonding Latita and all of that shit.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty weird.
I guess I've been thinking that Podrick probably made like a fetch or makes fetches or something, um, because he's not her all the time. Like when he was off in Toronto, presumably someone would have noticed that Joe was missing. So I'm assuming that that's kind of what he's been doing. But yeah, I don't know if I don't know what we're gonna learn about any of this shit. But yeah, I hate it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so the Goblin King guy is like, meh, meh, meh. Like, put up or shut up. Like, tell me that you're gonna not just abandon me as a man, blah blah blah. And you let some of us be killed, you told him to kill some of us, like, that's fucked. And Teresa Duchamp is like, the ones who died deserved it. Which is great. Um and someone else was like, fuck you. Like, so there's obviously, not all the Duchamp women agree that this was the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. The second reason is that, like, when the court finally shows up, no one will even be around because they take their sweet ass time.
Yeah.
Because
Perfect.
what is time when you're immortal?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and this is where Padraic thinks about the other agencies at play, for the first time in this chapter, which is where we get the hint that, like, is it Grandma Rose? Is it Barbatorum? Is it Conquest? Like, what the fuck is it? Should I be able to figure this out? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Will I be able to figure this out? No.
No.
But it's a fun thing to be revealed at this point. It feels like we're really heading in a clear direction kind of with this. Like, okay, there is this other antagonist thing out there. Some of the characters are aware of it. We are now aware of it. We're heading toward the culmination. Which is fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, so another thing that makes me love Sandra is how Padraic is impressed by her. He arranges and sets up a lot of little tests, but it seems like she passes them. And even though she loses here, he is like, oh no, this is what she, in this moment, she's like, this is the best possible thing. Like, I have to be seen as the fuck up so that whoever takes my place isn't inheriting that. She doesn't bind the Goblin King to his word because it needs to be his choice, not her manipulation.
Yeah.
And, like, she is recognizing and doing all these things, like, in some cases faster than Padraic is, which is really cool. It's just another example of how fucking cool Sandra Duchamp is and how much it sucks that, like, she's working so hard to prop up this family. Because, like, her choice to bind Hilder and her relationship with Jeremy, there's so many really interesting things about her. And honestly about, like, basically all the Duchamp women and girls that we meet, and it's so frustrating that they choose to do this, but also it makes sense because, like, what else would they do?
What'd you do?
Yeah. I just love her. But yeah, so she's like, okay, like, men, you can all go. If you're upset, like, give me a month and you can yell at me. And it seems like it's all gonna work out. And, Blake has got, did the best because there's enough Duchamps to fight Johannes, but they're fucking broken, and woohoo.
Yahoo!
and then the fuckface we've all been waiting for decides to fuck
Show
around.
up. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because, like, Padraic is really, like, kind of admiring and impressed by Sandra, but he also is, like, admiring and impressed by Corvidae.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it elevates my perception of Sandra, and it, like, even it almost diminishes my perception of Padraic, that he's like, wow, that Raven man, so cool. And yeah, so he proceeds to fuck up the situation by getting the diagram drawer's gun and putting it with the blonde guy, and then this causes diagram drawer to freak out and kill that guy because he has some issues that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Sandra tries to stop this from happening by trying to, like, capture that guy's attention. People are upset about her doing that manipulation, but also now there's a man, like, firing into the crowd, and the Goblin King is something's happening. And
Something's happening.
when Sandra's like, hey, Penny, please do this, she spits in her face, which, like, holy shit.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having had this conversation where she really defended Sandra, 12 hours ago or whatever, must make this even more, like, present in her mind. But that just felt, I don't know, harsh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything's in disarray and they're splitting up. And I'm like, I don't fully understand how this is like fucked Blake. Like I guess the Duchamps aren't quite as, they're not in as good of a position to attack Johannes, but the next part of this chapter seems to, I don't know, suggest something, and I don't know, man. This was a part where like I didn't quite get it. But Corvidae did take a calm, resolved-ish situation and like, you know,
Fucked it
throw
up.
gasoline in a match on it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't quite, like, Padraic seems to think like, oh, this is fucked over Blake in some way that I don't fully get.
Yeah.
But that's Corvidae's whole thing. So yeah. We get a little time jump, where we get more junior council business. The Duchamp girls, I guess, are all gathered, except for Lola, who didn't come because she's like, it's less than an hour till sunrise and something. And Padraic says that Chloe Duchamp is like sitting in this circle, and I'm kind of like, okay, so actual Chloe or Keller? Like, this to me seems like, you know, he wasn't, he kept referring to them as like Evan Keller, I think. So I think he would have said like Keller as Chloe. And so this makes me think that Chloe is not captured, but I don't know. They do some sort of like hollow message thing, and Mags, Alistair, Rose, Lola, and Ainsley all appear magic wise. And yeah, so they have this thing where Alistair maybe is cool again. I don't know what's up with this man.
Yeah.
He's basically like, hey, let's still do that deal. Let's still like try to, you know, keep things chill between us. Penny's like, yeah, but you're a fuckface. And Alistair's like, you know how much of a fuckface I'm not? I'm so much not of a fuckface that I'm helping Rose Thorburn. And so they, you know, squabble about how Grandma Rose was on the council, and like, yeah, but she was stronger, and like, nah, this Rose is really scary, which is funny to hear her fiance say.
Yeah.
And you know, Padraic's like, oh, it's too bad I can't interfere because I might have told them that it's not just Blake fucking everything up or whatever, but there's outside interference, which is, you know, the second time he mentions this. But Rose is like, actually, there's outside interference, and like, thank God that someone else knows, and it's not just Padraic.
Yeah.
Although Rose isn't necessarily on Blake's side. We learn that it's not a practitioner? Question mark, but it is something powerful.
Something powerful.
Which again, conquest? What's it? Barbatorum? The abyss itself? I don't know. Something.
So many possibilities.
So many possibilities. But they're like, yeah, well, Dawn's in an hour. Johannes is gonna win because he's the only one who's not, you know, he's in the best position and he can regroup and we're all fucked and stuff. And Alistair's like, what if Dawn wasn't in an hour? Which is fun that he's like, I'm gonna keep night going for another 24 hours, which wild. And you know, this will basically deplete our power stores, so the behemoths of the Duchamps will be, you know, evened out, which Rose suggested because she, you know, loves everyone and wants everyone to be friends.
Of course. BFFs.
And it's a great idea. And Mags is like, yeah, I'll try to help your parents, and I'll try to help y'all. And they leave, and Rose is still there, and Penny's like, fuck you, like, die. And Rose is like, I mean, okay, and leaves. Rose is like, I'll try to help. And it's interesting, like, Rose seems like nice and cool to me in this chapter, and like is Padraic. Like, Padraic's like, haha, they hate her because her karma sucks so bad.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting thing about an other being able to see that and see past that and something.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. So, Penny's like, Joanna, share your bed. And this is where we're like, oh no, she must be asleep in her bed. And something's gonna happen. And
nothing happened.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, did he like glamour her up to look like a blanket?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like, what the hell's happening?
But then the birthday party, which like, what the fuck? It just,
What the fuck?
yeah. So basically, Patrick has had Joanna trapped in this like creepy birthday party for several years, and she thinks she's like about to turn 10, or maybe something, time clocks, don't know. And she hasn't been awoken yet. She doesn't have her fairy, like she thinks it's the day before her 10th birthday, and I think she's like supposed to be 12 or 13 or something by this point.
Yeah.
And that's
really sad and terrible.
Yeah. Like, how do the shops not know? How do they not know?
I don't know, man.
It's so awful. And like, again, I have no idea if this is going to be resolved, or it's just going to be like, yep, remember Joanna Duchamp still in that house? Like,
yeah, it's fucking terrible.
I know. I mean, it seems like Padraic is going to still play a bigger role-ish, maybe-ish in this, but also maybe not. I don't know. It's so awful. And Eva's even like, yeah, why does this girl deserve this? And she's like, because it's my birthday.
It's sad.
It's so awful. And horrifying and sad and bad and scary and bad.
Yeah. Like, a bunch of fairies are assholes, man. Okay, well, that's depressing. We're at the end of the arc.
Woo.
What does execution mean, Malia?
Yeah, so, the main definition is the carrying out or putting into effect of a plan, order, or course of action. And, like, Blake did it. Blake was like, here's the plan, 7 dudes. Here's the list. Let's go. Bam, 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 bam. And, like, he had to improvise a little bit. He didn't get the last guy, but he did get the 7 victories over the Duchamps. And he fucking did it. Executed. I thought it was funny that one of the definitions we had talked about was the performance of an instruction or program on a computer. And Blake uses a computer this arc. So that was fun.
That was fun. That's the meaning. That's what it means.
Yeah, and he does like kill a lot of dudes. Like specifically targeted, I'm here to kill you now.
Yeah, that's
and it wasn't necessarily like legally sanctioned, but
not legally sanctioned murder.
As most murder.
Yes.
Yeah. I was trying to think about the interlude and how it relates. And I don't see how like the Joanna twist or anything really relate to this. I don't know.
Yeah. I would work through it with you, but my brain is dead.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Which is a bummer, because I know like it's a podcast where my brain ideally wouldn't be dead. But I worked today, and yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Sorry, guys. My brain is, it's working. It's slowed down to a crawl, It's crawling like a brain that crawls. Okay, move on, Malia.
No, you have to. I
have to move on. Okay, I'm gonna get. Man, my brain. Okay,
this part.
Malia, where are we going? She highlighted the next part for me to read. She's like, all right, we obviously need a lot of help right here, so let me highlight this. Because okay, where's the story going, Malia?
I mean, Johannes. It's always the answer. This is the answer to every question, except he's not at all. It really does seem like, though, right? Like, the Bahams are going to use up a whole bunch of power to prevent Johannes from winning, and so the junior council like the remnants of the Baham and Duchamp family are going to join up to try to take on Johannes. Blake's gonna like, is Blake ever just gonna like go back to the house and check on his friends? I don't know.
I mean, who knows, man?
Not me.
Not me. I mean, me, but not you.
Is
Well, right now I don't know anything.
Where's Blake going? Maybe he will though, because so Evan needs to get some help. He remembered that people at the house existed, so maybe he's gonna go be like, "Hey, does anyone have any sort of healing shit for Evan?" Or he's gonna be like, "Okay, Duchamp's check. Let's go after Johannes." But it feels like if everyone's going after Johannes, it might work to talk to people.
Yeah, it does seem like that's a good idea.
And sometimes Blake does do that, so maybe he'll talk to people.
Maybe he'll talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
It could be good. Okay, we're gonna go to our pale in comparison section.
Woo!
So Malia, what's there to compare? We can talk about the fairy, how Padraic is like Marisica or like Guilherme or like so not like them. We can talk about different varieties of skincare.
Lucy has a really great hair care.
She is like on point for someone who is not about to be married.
I know.
It's impressive.
I think the fairy are kind of interesting. I mean, reflecting on this has made me a lot more scared of and sad about Guilherme because he's probably done shit like this. Like he's like, I've done all the stories, I've done all the things. Like he's probably been really awful. And I just don't see him that way, and I don't like seeing him that way. And a lot of the the way Padraic thinks and he feels like an in between Guilherme and Marisica, right? Where he has a lot more experience and a lot more kind of wisdom and knowledge and really loves being a fairy, right, than Marisica, but he is
straight up asshole.
More he's a dickhead, and he is he has a lot more energy. He's like, ooh, the tea, the drama, the ooh, whereas Guilherme didn't have that energy when we met him. And so this is because Marisica was kind of scary bad, but not super present in the story. And then she was blood goddess. She's I don't want to be Fae. And Big G is winter, and he's just a totally different flavor. And he's old.
He's old with a capital O.
Yes. Were you going to say L? Because that's what my brain filled in.
Probably. I don't know.
The capital L. And
small O, capital L. Small D.
Old.
Oh, old.
Old. But yeah, just, stealing Maggie's name was horrifying. But then, it's not over. And in fact, it's been going on this whole time. There's just there's things, right? And I can't fucking imagine how scary meeting Mariska and Guilherme was for pact readers.
Yeah.
Because who knows if, Big G had actually had Jasmine in a box for 17 years. I don't know. It's just, what?
It's bad stuff. It's fucking scary.
It's not great.
It's not great. All right. Let's talk about your bold and specific prediction. What is it?
This is another one of those ones where, are we gonna save Joanna Duchamp? And I'm really vacillating here. Between whether anyone will ever find out about this, or whether Blake or whoever will obviously save her. And I have no fucking clue. A Maggie Padraic showdown thing would be really satisfying. He's been brought back into the story. And I feel like I want him to be resolved more. But because I could really see it being yep, fairy are just that fucked up. But I could also see and then we save this child.
Cool.
It wasn't a prediction though.
Yeah.
You make me ask me something. Make me say something.
Oh my gosh. Malia.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Okay, fine. Someone will save Joanna Duchamp. Done. Moving on.
Who?
Mags.
Mags will save Joanna Duchamp.
Sure. I don't really believe that, but sure.
Okay. I mean, it's bold and specific enough. Okay. Sweet. Awesome. All right. Now, we're going to talk about a previous discussion question, which is, what would your mediocre curse vision be? And we have 2 answers.
We have 3.
We have 3 answers. My goodness gracious. And they're fucking long, which is great, but like, my brain. But I'm going to just do my best and read something. I'm going to read Fleet Feathers. So they say, I think my agonizing but mediocre curse vision would be 3 hours of stop and go standstill traffic on the Jersey Turnpike 2 days before Thanksgiving. I hate driving so much, and standstill traffic is so rough because it's not mind-numbingly boring. There's nothing to engage your brain, but you can't zone out because every once in a while the car in front of you will move and you need to be ready to move with them or else be cut off.
Ugh.
I think that's great. I would only add to that, well, because mine would be like probably Honolulu traffic, because that's like the worst traffic I've been. But I would also add, you have to be driving a stick because that's like
You have
the
to have the clutch
fucking
in the whole
worst.
time.
Yeah, that's the fucking worst.
Yep. Maisie1 has written this really beautiful thing. Can I read it, Jenny, or should I? It's pretty funny.
Go for it.
Okay. The earliest hints of sunrise blanket the area. Within this morning's twilight, a natural silence sleeps alongside the people who are still warmly snuggled within their blankety cocoons. The occasional bird call, whistle of the wind, or even engine of a distant car add to the ambient silence rather than take away from it. This is not an empty, barren world, but a busy one that still cozily sleeps before its day has needed to begin. But the peace cannot last, and soon this tranquility is disturbed by the igniting of a most wicked engine. It does not cease, it does not slow, but it grows in volume and intensity forevermore. Soon enough, it evokes the image of a historical train engine, as rumbling steam whistle is seemingly added to this bone-shaking vibration. And this is not where the serenity crushing ends, because piercing through the blankety armor donned by those who flee the morning are 4 pokers, pressing in on breast and bladder, their weight seemingly distributed and designed to inflict maximum discomfort on those who are not yet ready to face the day. For those who can withstand these tortures, a third awaits, the warm storm. Hot rain falls on the face, hot hair is blown into nostrils, and hair is disturbed and thoroughly soaked by the onslaught, leaving victims moist, sticky, and overheating as they suffer the onslaught. Eventually, all victims are forced out of their half-asleep state and forced to engage their attackers and begin their day. They arise from their beds and feed this fucking cat. But what if they couldn't? What if they were forced to lie in the bed and endure it? What if they fed the cat and it came back anyway? They could suffer for days, half awake, assaulted by a feline aggressor, and not fully comprehending their plight. The torture would end, the person would wake, and the memory would mostly slip from the mind, leaving scars that fade quickly, but not quickly enough.
That was like a whole journey.
It was so good.
It was a journey, and it took some twists and turns, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
It was fucking good as poetry.
It also reminded me something about the train or the engine. There's in my town, there's a train that goes through relatively often, but the roads that cross over the train tracks don't always have those things that come down to stop you from going through. I don't know why they don't just put these in, because what happens is the train has to go super, super slow and like blare its horn the entire fucking time. And that is like a kind of hell, because it doesn't stop for like 5 or 10 minutes of just like this train just like creeps very slowly through so it doesn't like destroy anyone in their cars. And it's just like, fuck, like add the stupid things. Anyway.
All right.
Last but not least,
Captain Rhino. They say, I don't do well with blood and gory injuries. If it's visual, that's fine. I can look away or close my eyes. But if it's someone describing it, it's very hard to deal with. I find it hard to block out the sound and stop listening, and it's very hard to do discreetly. During some recent first aid training, I had to leave the room whilst they were dealing with some of the bloodier wounds one might encounter. So that's the sort of thing I'd find upsetting in the moment, but afterwards would be fine. Well, I apologize for all my weird shit I talk about. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that does suck.
Yeah. This
And
also reminds me of tryptophobia, which I have.
yeah, that sucks too,
Remember
man.
the tadpoles?
Yeah, I fucking do. Malia,
That's
this
awful.
is I love you so fucking much, but holy shit. This is like the one time I can't do any more fucking anecdotes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Everyone
Like,
will just
you're
wonder what
like,
the
let's
tadpoles
talk
were.
about the fucking trains. Let's talk about the fucking tadpoles. Let's like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm changing my my fact just because I want to save it for when I can talk about it more.
That's fair. It's a good fact.
That's a good fact.
So while you do that, I will remind everyone that our discussion question for this upcoming week is, what is a good PSA, slogan, or campaign for practitioners? So that's like a public safety announcement. So some sort of like public safety announcement or awareness campaign or whatever for practitioners. Like practice and die. but good.
Sweet. Okay, I found one.
Woo.
It's good enough. Well, on that note, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 14.1 and 14.2. And don't forget about the fan art contest.
Transformation.
Submissions are due February 3rd. Transform yourself into art.
Into artists and unleash your artistry upon the world. And you might get money. All right, guys. This week's fun fact. Oysters can change sexes. So it's like oysters that were initially male can become female over time. And this is because in oysters, sex is determined partly by environment. And
oysters.
It's close enough to tadpoles, so we can talk about that next time. Oysters. It's not really close to tadpoles, but
they're like aquatic or something.
It's closer than like a cat, you know?
Yeah. This is rad. Good for them.
Good for them, man.
Oysters.
All right. Peace out, bruh.
Talk to y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.